Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This from a guy, sounds like he's probably about mid-30s I'd say. And he shares his story, his very long story, as you can see by the numbers on this channel here, about how he went from being the typical Mr. Nice guy, who was taken advantage of, all that, particularly with his first wife, to turning things around and learning from his mistakes, to now on to marriage number 2, with a gal who's really cool, really loves him, supports him, all that, and he's doing very well. And how he's, like I said, gotten rid of so many of those nice guy's tendencies. And I might add, the great enjoyment of having his ex trying to get back with him. Big shocker there. But he's going to go into his whole story here, and I got to tell you, the guy has an interesting sense of humor. The way he writes the story is pretty funny, with jumping around in time and all that, and it would be like almost like a movie. And I did have a good time reading this the first time around over lunch before I prepped to do this whole video here. And it goes to show you guys that even if you made a lot of mistakes when you're younger, you were the typical nice guy, did all the nice guy things, you can change. You can turn things around for yourself, but you got to take a very oftentimes hard, realistic look at yourself and figure out where you're going wrong and take action to fix that. And it ain't easy. It's very hard because, let's be honest, guys have a lot of pride and we don't want to admit that we're screwing up. But if you do that, you can really change things around for yourself. And that's what this guy's doing. And so this guy is now a father from his second marriage now, and he is now going to, with things he's learned and working on, really going to help his son go in the right path so he doesn't become like he was earlier in life. Because this guy in the story you're going to see, his father was the same way. A good guy, but a total nice guy pushover. And he also addresses at the end things he's learned along the way of why he was always this approval-seeking, kiss-ass nice guy with the women. He really figures that out with the assistance of a book and all sorts of things like that. So for you guys out there, and if you're honest with yourself, if you're a recovering nice guy, as people call it, or you've been taking advantage of your whole life, and you know darn well that you're that nice guy type, and blue pill guy, whatever, listen to this one. Might help you out, because all these videos, even if it can help one dude out somewhere on the fucking planet, it's worth me sitting here and doing this 40-some minute video here. So definitely go into here, and I think you guys will enjoy this. So he starts off saying, "Hi SSM. Congrats on the move from the People's Commonwealth of Massachusetts to the land of Florida man / Florida woman. Now you can own firearms. Yes, in 8 days on September 30th, I'm making the trek down to Florida. Finally, the day has come. I know a lot of you guys thought I was already in Florida, but I have been doing a lot of back and forth there and everything. It's a long story, but everything's set. So next Saturday, I'll be driving down there with the cats in the back there, being very annoyed that they have to drive for 22 fucking hours from Massachusetts to Florida, but I'm looking very much to it. No, I'm not doing it all in one day. I'm splitting this up, but still a 22-hour haul, give or take. It says, here's a round of therapy for me. Hopefully you will find it very entertaining and interesting. Well, you definitely are an entertaining writer. Part 1, he says, the bathroom. There I was in the bathroom. I just flushed a rather satisfying Sir Harrington, South Park reference. While I was washing my hands, my phone went off. It was my soon-to-be ex-wife, let's call her Elle. How fitting for her to come back right after relieving myself. Yes, they always come back. I answered and immediately received an earful of Tuscan Raider. Elle was giving the typical apologies and telling me that she was so sorry and she'd have to live with the mistakes that she made if only I would take her back. Not a chance in hell, sweetheart. We are getting divorced and I never want to hear from your ass again. I told Elle that I'd given her a list of things that she'd have to do for me to consider getting back with her 6 months ago, just a little while after kicking her out of our apartment. Elle told me she would never have moved away if I told her what I wanted. I said I had the conversations in the email. So there we were, 2 weeks away from our divorce being final, and Elle was crying, asking me if I was sure this is what I wanted. Yeah, I only filed for divorce because I wasn't sure. You bet your ass I'm sure. I thought about the people waiting on me in the next room, and a few things flashed through my head. Number 1, my new girlfriend, I'll call her Jay. Number 2, the great conversations we've been having for the last couple of hours. Number 3, delicious jambalaya we had just eaten. Number 4, the great SEX I was going to have with Jay after we get back to her place that night. And number 5, the fact that Jay and I had more SEX in the 3 months we've been dating than Elle and I did in 5 years. Yeah, something tells me it probably wouldn't be a very good idea to go back to your ex. So of course I said, yep, that's it. That's what I want, and I needed to go. How'd I get to the bathroom, he says. Of course, we're going to Tarantino this. Thank Zeus, I'm not Vincent Vega. I've always been a tall, skinny, goofy guy. In high school, I was socially awkward, but I did have a lot of friends and groups that I drifted between: geeks, gamers, stoners, and the people who didn't fit in anywhere. I lacked a lot of social grace, but I've always been generally a kind person. Unfortunately, I've also been a nice guy as well, but we'll get to that later. As I mentioned in the beginning, that's going to be a very big theme with this guy, the nice guy shit, and which caused him a lot of problems, obviously his first marriage, but he's certainly on a quest to overcome that. And it's definitely changed things around with his new woman. I had a few girlfriends in high school. I had some one-nightists for the first one for about a year or so. Then I lost my virginity to my second girlfriend, and my third girlfriend was a freshman in college while I was in my senior year in high school. After high school, having a girlfriend was more the exception than the norm. I never really figured out how to approach women. It just seemed like we would just meet and hit it off. It might have helped if I had more of a grounding in who I was as a person. Again, nice guy, I simply didn't understand that people would like me for just being myself. Although I didn't know who myself actually was, and I'm still working on that. Fast forward to 27 years old, and I met Elle at a party. We talked and goofed off for a bit that night. Later on, I looked her up on Facebook, and we started talking. I invited Elle over one night, and we watched the Boondock Saints. A few nights later, Elle came back over and spent the night, a massive red flag here, and she had to call her grandmother and lie to her about why she wasn't going to be home. Another red flag was that Elle's mom would make a good night call. Later, I would see this happen every night, but yeah, me being stupid. Yeah, those are red flags right away dealing with her family situation. If things are off with the family, that's going to become your problem, as I say all the time. Going forward a couple months, and Elle moved in. Smack! A few months, you're dating this broad, and she moves in. Well, listen to this. Mainly because her grandmother was going to kick her out if she stayed the night at my place anymore. It's not your problem, dude. She can get a freaking apartment. She can make other arrangements. The only reason you move with a woman, as I've said more times than I can possibly count, is that you've been with a woman for a very long time, years and years and years, and you plan on marrying her, and it's like the final test to see what she's like. And even then, she could put on a big show until you put that ring on her finger, and then the heartbeat comes out. You don't move in with a girl after a few months of knowing her, but if you're a nice guy and watch too many damn movies and think she's the one, you do this bullshit and watch what happens. Several months in, I proposed to Elle. Smack! Again, what's the rush? I don't care if you're 27 or 28 at this point. So what? You barely know her. And by the way, you're going to find she's 20 years old. Too young. This was 200 years ago. We could have a different conversation. Well, 200 years ago, if she was 20 years old and getting married, she'd be considered to be an old lady. But you get the point. Proposed to Elle without really having a life established for myself. I thought that getting married was what you did and that you couldn't really have a life without being married. My parents married young. How many guys are laughing at that prospect? You can have a great life without being married. He says, a side note on my life at the time, when I was 27, I was in college. I had started at 25. I thought I wanted to study computer science, but the way grad students teach math, I didn't get along. In 2013, I ended up graduating with a pretty worthless degree in interdisciplinary studies in psychology, sociology, and FCHD, family, child, and human development. I was working as the level 1 tech support at a web hosting company, and I was good, but I didn't want to move up in the company and I hated the company anyway. I thought I wanted to be a programmer after all. I was also a second degree black belt at the local McDojo, and I become an instructor. Well, that's cool. In short, I had some accomplishments, but I didn't really have a direction or grind in my life, as a lot of young guys don't have. And that's why a lot of young guys are so frustrated, because they just feel aimless, and there's no one to help them give them direction. That's what I do, and beat it into so many guys' heads to find your purpose. And when you start finding your purpose and something you're pursuing, everything else will come into place. He says, getting and being married. Elle and I got married in 2011. So many red flags leading up to the wedding. Elle's parents are divorced. Her mom is a not quite dyed-in-the-wool femtard, but she's close. Elle's mom is a massive helicopter parent. Elle's dad is an alcoholic with delusions of grandeur. Good Lord, I want to punch him in his ass so many times. Oh, what a great family to marry into. They won't all be a problem in your life. Guys, I say it all the time, pay attention to who your girl's family is. If they're a freaking train wreck, your life's going to become a train wreck. I know I said this earlier, but I can't stress that enough. He says, oh yeah, and did I mention when I got married, Elle was only 20 years old. I still remember running to the grocery store to buy her a beer on her 21st birthday at midnight. As well, Elle lied to her parents a lot about a lot of stupid shit. Well, she's a compulsive liar to her parents. She's going to be a compulsive liar to you. Then Elle's mom would try to treat me like a child. Yeah, I finally snapped one day and told her to fuck off. And I actually think Elle's mom respected me more after that day. Of course she did, because you're actually checking her. Elle and I didn't have a ton of sex before we got married. And after we got married, it got worse. Shocker. Looking back, I really wasn't that attracted to her, and I didn't enjoy spending a lot of time with her. I thought I could change her. Smack! Okay, Mr. White Knight. If you weren't that attracted to her, and you really weren't that into her, then why the hell were you with her? Because you thought, I'm 27. A man gets married at 27. You can't be a real man without having a wife. That type of mentality. I've always had projects and curiosities, things I'm trying to learn about. Elle would be watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Elle would complain when Saturday rolled around. I wouldn't stay in bed. I would get up early and get work on projects. I've been putting off all week due to school, work, and teaching martial arts. I still remember telling Elle that I built my computer. She said, oh, you installed the programs on it. Her mind was blown when I explained to her that you can order components and put them together. Her family are all Mac users. I don't know when it happened, but I stopped studying martial arts because I thought it would make Elle happy if I was home more. Smack! The classic, I'm going to give up my hobbies and interests to spend time with my girl because that's what she says she wants. And what happens? You become less of the guy that she was attracted to in the first place. You become a whipped puppy. She loses respect for you. And then she tests the fuck out of you thinking, what else can I get this jackass to give up? The next thing he's giving up his friends and maybe taking his dog to the animal shelter because she doesn't like the attention he gives a dog. And eventually breaks up with him because saying, you changed. You're not the same guy anymore. And he's like, I gave everything up for you. Never do that, guys. Always be who you are. You don't give up your hobbies and interests and bros and your dog for any woman. And she's trying to get you to do that, kick her out. I'm in a mood to talk today and teach, so you're going to hear a lot of that in this long-ass video. He says, I always had encouraged Elle to find some hobbies. She liked to read romance novels like Twilight and the Dark Hunter series. That's not a hobby. That's sucking brain cells out her nose. A year or two after we got married, she'd gotten some friends from study groups from Western Governors University. And that's when things really started to go downhill. As well, she started getting into religion while I was drifting toward atheism. I'm sure that didn't help matters much. I reinforced shitty behavior. I thought if I did more for her, she'd see I loved her and she'd pull her head out of her ass and give me what I wanted. Nice guy, covert contract shit. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. You keep sacrificing and doing all those things to be nice to them, hoping to get something back. It's not going to work. I never got any concrete proof she was cheating on me, but she, number one, was always protective of her phone. Number two, was acting more and more distant. 3, started going out on girls' nights. 4, stayed out later and later during said girls' nights. 5, sex is pretty much non-existent except for some starfish every 6 weeks or so. And 6, she made a strange comment to me one night, I do love you. A lot of red flags I mentioned, guys. And something's up with her, smoke this fire. I finally kicked her ass out after she told me she was going to see her mom. She'd been doing that pretty regularly through the years. And I got a text from her mom that night, or Saturday morning, asking me to have Elle turn on her phone. The conversation went something like this. Her mother said to me, can you have Elle turn on her phone? And I said, she's not at your house? And her mother said, no. I said, she was going to your house this weekend. And her mom says, can you try calling her? And I said, sure, but I doubt she'll answer. Surprise, surprise, no Elle. She did not answer. I was already out the door and headed to the bank to pull all the money I had. I also stopped at Walmart and got a new lock and deadbolt for the door. While I was installing the new hardware, Elle's mom wanted me to call the police, and I told her Elle was most likely doing something stupid. But I called the cops anyway, and I talked to a detective, and of course, while I was talking to the detective, Elle called. The conversation went something like this. I said, hello, and she says, so I guess we're getting a divorce then? And I said, yep, and I hung up on her. What a great marriage. What a great, all these years wasted on this broad. I informed all involved that Elle was fine and finished the hardware installed on the door. I don't remember the exact sequence of events after that, but Elle and I filed for divorce online. I still remember a question on the form asking me how I knew Elle wasn't in the military, to which I filled in because she's standing behind me telling me she's not in the military. I believe my state is an at-fault divorce state, but it didn't matter anyway. We'd only been married just shy of 4 years, and the threshold for alimony is 5. Hallelujah. We didn't really have any assets to speak of. Well, you dodged a big one, man. Only 4 years with her and no alimony, and thank the Lord you're in an at-fault divorce state. There was some back and forth. I let her live in the spare bedroom for a couple weeks, even spotted her some cash so she could get an air mattress. I was effing done with her at this point when I came home one night from a friend's birthday party, very drunk, and I was within walking distance. Elle had been trying to get me to crash at the party, but I decided I wanted to be in my own bed at some point. When I got to my apartment, there was some brown piece of crap parked in front. I went inside and some short fat fuck was in the kitchen, making a drink. He said hi, and I said F off. He seemed a bit shocked, makes me wonder if he really had any idea what was going on. Elle came out and asked me if I was drunk, to which I said, oh, very. So you're separated, but she's still living there, and she has some loser there. And where do you think they're going to hook up? Obviously on your bed. That's why she's trying to get you to stay away. At this point, it's time to kick her out. I slammed a couple glasses of water, then went to my bedroom, locked the door, and passed out. The next morning, I passed the spare bedroom, and I'm pretty sure I heard them having sex. So I went to the living room and blasted some music really loud, then went to yoga class to clear my head. I said I was completely done and called Elle, told her she needed to get the hell out. She was gone that day with no drama. So you hardly had sex in the marriage, you're separated, now she's banging some short fat fuck as you described him in your house or apartment. Shocker. Next part, he says, turning my life around. For the new year of 2015, the last year I was with Elle, I made a resolution to lift weights. I've been working on my fitness over the last couple of years, on and off, doing bodyweight exercise programs. The Super Sign workout from Bay was a personal favorite, but I realized I needed to kick it up a notch. I've been getting fat for a while. I was 280 and probably 30-35% body fat. Yeah, dude, it was time to get your shit together. So I joined a local gym and started getting up at 5 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to work out. I was doing big compound lifts, squats, deadlifts, bench, and overhead press, following the starting strength methodology. That's the way to go, man. The basics, the most important ones. You could throw some pull-ups in there, but obviously you weren't doing many pull-ups at 280 pounds, but you know what I mean. The assisted pull-up machine. Pull-ups, in my opinion, are probably one of the best exercises you can do, if you have the strength to even do in the first place. After a couple months, my confidence was going up, and physically my body composition was changing a bit, to the point where Elle says something about other women wanting to have sex with me. Yeah, they're going to want to, Elle, but we're getting a divorce, so I don't want to hear your opinion. I think she was worried about losing her meal ticket at that point. It must have been around mid-April that year that the divorce was fully in motion, and I was living on my own. I say that because I had a divorce is final Halloween party that year, and the waiting period was 6 months on the divorce. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Another fun interaction was Elle asking me for her share of the money in our account. To which I said, you have no money, you just spend it all on a new tattoo. I had about $700 from our tax return that year, and she spent her half, about $800 on a stupid tattoo. You married a child, dude, what do you expect? Well, no, you should expect more, and deserve more, but she was a child. After getting rid of Elle, I got my finances back on track. I found out we've been running 2 months behind on a bunch of stuff. I lived on chicken, frozen vegetables, rice, and coffee for a few weeks, and got everything caught up. Then I started a realistic budget based on previous spending, and automated the shit out of a lot of my bills. Something I should have been doing all along. Notice the second the woman's out of the picture, this guy got everything, his finances in order. All guys got to do this. I also found out that $40,000 a year is pretty good for a single guy without much debt. I was paying on student loans was all. I ended up buying a beat-up little Suzuki and then selling my Mustang to economize on finances. I sold the Mustang. That had to hurt. But I also went on a book buying spree and upgraded my computer. I had been teaching martial arts for about the last 8 months or so. One of my students was a guy I had known for a number of years. Let's call him R. After the divorce was moving along, I decided to get out and start trying to meet some people, so I went to the bar on a bunch of weekends. Bro, this is good. Get the finances in order, have a new disciplined budget for your money. That's awesome. You're hitting the gym, getting back in shape. Now you're back to martial arts. Now you're going out to meet some new people. This is what you do, guys, to turn shit around and start over, you know? Now, I wouldn't be dating anytime soon here, but all the other things I agree with. A few months in, R introduced me to a friend who was getting a divorce, Jay. We hit it off pretty good. We talked a lot about cars. She had a 2012 SS Camaro, freaking awesome car. She invited me back to her place, and we ended up talking for a while. Then she finally said, "I really want to kiss you." He goes, "Yeah, my nice guy couldn't believe that she would just have SCX with me." We didn't have SCX that night, as her period had hit her on the way home from the bar. Sure. We made out for a bit and had a few more drinks, and I slept there. She made breakfast the next morning, and she's a damn good cook. Both Jay and I were just wanting to get our exes out of our systems and move on with life. This was supposed to be a one-nighter, but thanks to the ant flow visiting, we ended up spending more time together and realized we liked hanging out together. Yes, we were married. We were both married or rebound. Yes, we both married or rebound. So I wouldn't be getting into dating that quickly after all that, but you met a chick who also is going through a divorce. That's a red flag, but be cautious. But at least, you know, you get a second chance to remedy the mistakes you made before. At least we can hope. Jay had been married for 17 years. She said SEX pretty much dropped off after she got married. Her husband assumed she wouldn't leave. I've since confirmed this story and a lot of others. So yeah, Jay had a lot of pent-up desire, and just like me, a lot of pent-up desire. So you were getting all the freaky that you wanted. And by the way, you said she was married for 17 years. Unless she got married really, really, really young, you got together with an older chick. I don't know how much older this chick is, but now I know how this story ends, and you know it's on a high note, but still. I also learned Jay had worked her first job for 15 years, and then her second job when she'd been at for 4 years. She ended up leaving after 8. Jay also has a good relationship with her parents and healthy boundaries with them. There you go. What a opposite of what your previous marriage is. Guys, you want a girl, your relationship, guys, that has a good relationship with her family. Because otherwise, there'll be a bunch of bullshit in your life. But I think the biggest thing to watch was how Jay handled her divorce. Jay did not want alimony. She was making almost as much as her ex. She was making more than me for the first 4 years we were together, at least on a yearly basis. I made more per hour. Jay just wanted her Camaro and her main retirement account. She gave a small one to her ex that he liquidated. Jay left him with the house and only took a few pieces of furniture, some pans, dishes, some DVDs, and didn't touch his $100,000 worth of tools. He's a mechanic and a damn good one. So Jay could have really cleaned him out, but she didn't do that. And that says a lot about her character, and that's good. But back to ending up in the bathroom. In the beginning of the story, he was in the bathroom, and his ex is trying to get him to change his mind. Jay and I have been dating for about 3 months, and we're enjoying a great night out with some of her friends at their place. Elle called me after a very satisfying constitutional. Now fast forward a couple of weeks, and it's Halloween party time. Jay helped me a lot in getting my apartment ready. We had a hell of a night. It was a standing room only. Just awesome. I had friends over who I hadn't seen in forever. A friend I hadn't seen for a while did tell me that when he saw Elle at the bar a while back, getting handsy with some dude who wasn't me, oh well. Then Jay and I snuck to the bathroom and had a quickie. He says, life with Jay. So Jay and I have been dating for about 6 months. We both had talked about how we should date other people, and then we'd trail off. It was about the 6-month point Jay asked me about being exclusive. I agreed, and that was that. How interesting. 2 things here. Number 1, she brought up the idea of being exclusive. That's what you want, guys. You dating relationship guys. You don't want to be the one bringing it up. Where are we? Where is this going? That's what girls do. Okay? You want her to bring it up. You want it to be her idea. Okay? Because if she ain't ready, she ain't going to bring it up. So that's good. Number 2, 6 months. You were seeing each other for 6 months. And that's very good, especially since you were still going through a goddamn divorce. So you got some time in there, and she had to work to get the commitment. You weren't rushing or anything like that, and that's a good thing. So even though you're a nice guy, you're not realizing it, handling things the right way. Here are some highlights with Jay. Now listen to this, the highlights with Jay compared to his ex-wife. He said, we have sex 3 or 4 times a week. It was down 1 or 2 for the last couple of years, but it's been getting back to 3 to 4 recently. She rarely turns me down for the sex. If she does, she makes up to me the next day. Built-in time apart for the first few years. Her job did rotating 12-hour shifts, and she had to work every other weekend. She's also an excellent cook. Awesome. We can barely talk about anything, often past a sensible bedtime. Yes, we still do this 7 years later. She introduced me to Great Danes. Wonderful dogs, giant, lazy sweethearts. I have a cousin who had Great Danes, and they are awesome, giant dogs. We get each other's random movie and TV references. She's encouraged me to keep on doing martial arts. I was actually promoted to a 4th degree in American Kempo a few years ago by my grandmaster. The fact that she's encouraging you to do the hobbies and interests that you like says everything. Okay, she's not trying to get you to stop doing that, like a lot of women do to control you and test your strength. She knows it makes you happy. And not to mention, I'm sure it makes her feel comfortable to know you can fight. Jay had a thing for Randy Orton, a WWE wrestler. When we met, she found out I was 6'4" and a martial artist, and her watching wrestling dropped off a lot. We entertain friends regularly. Being with Jay is actually having an actual partner, where being with Elle is more like being a parent. Yeah, she can take care of herself, and I might add, you said that she's obviously a little bit older than you. I don't know how much older, but while your ex was 7 years younger than you, 20-year-old child. So things have been going well for a couple of years with Jay. I ended up moving in with her because my lease was about up a year into our relationship. She let me redecorate the house with all my nerd art and let me set up a spare bedroom as an office. Still moved in too soon, in my opinion, but you lucked out. About the end of 2016, I ended up losing my job. I've been working at a robotics company doing testing for about 4 years. Got the job while still married to the ex. I was in shock when I got back that morning. Jay had just gotten off a gray shift and had barely started dozing off. She asked how my performance review was. I told her I got fired. She thought for half a second, then said, "Oh well, I still have my job," and went back to sleep. So she didn't lose her shit by you losing your job. Another good sign. Immediately women will start panicking. But if you are cool about it and are calm and like, hey, that's all right, tomorrow I'll start sending out resumes, then they're going to be calm. Fast forward a few months and we'd take a vacation to San Diego. We set up prior to me getting fired. I'd gotten another tech support job, started some training in cybersecurity, and then got a job as an IT systems administrator. I worked as an administrator for a few years and then got a job as security engineer, and that's where I am right now, making 6 figures. Awesome, bro, because only a few years earlier making 40 grand a year. So good, you were right back on your horse and got a new job. That's awesome. That's what a man does. You don't lose your shit and sit on the couch all day watching fucking reruns of Jerry Springer and getting fat. No, you took action and got off your ass. That's why she was calm when you told her you lost your job. She had confidence in you, and that's good. It was pretty satisfying a year after getting fired from the robotics company to have the manager who fired me wish me well, to which I responded that getting fired was the best thing for me. To get fired 2 weeks before Christmas, however. Oh well, I also got unemployment from that because the reasons for my termination were bullshit. So a year after that, I moved in with Jay. We bought a house. It was actually next door to where we were living. That was the biggest pain in the ass move ever. About a year later, after we bought a house, I bought a dog, a black Great Dane. He's grown to a healthy 145. The type of dog I always wanted, and he's my dog. I got to pick him out, and I raised him from a pup. Well, good for you for getting a dog. Speaking of dogs, I've got a King Charles Spaniel, let's call him B, that I inherited from my first marriage, Elle's grandmother. Jay would take him on her days off when we started dating. B has done well, and he's now just shy of 15 and a half years old. Crazy as most, only lived to 10. B was the one bit of a friction during my divorce with Elle. She took him to live with her, but he wasn't happy. Elle called after a few weeks to see if I would take him. Meanwhile, B was barking incessantly in the background, something he's never done with me, so apparently he likes me more than her. Well, that tells you something if the dog doesn't like her. During the year, that shall not be renamed, Jay and I got married. 4 years in. We had a lovely small ceremony in a friend's backyard. The coof gave us a convenient excuse to keep it small, just a few friends and immediate family. So 4 years after okay. It's interesting you had the stomach for getting married a second time. However, Jay, from everything you described, sounds pretty cool and something you would want in a wife. So I wish you the best. But we're getting to the point, guys, where he has really learned a lot of things and then working on himself to not make mistakes he made in the past. Going back to when I lost my job, I got drunk one night and asked Jay to marry me. She said, no, come back with a ring or when you're sober. I did ask her again a couple years later while I was sober, and she said yes. For our honeymoon, we took an overnight trip to a nearby border town to gamble. Gambling just isn't fun when there are plexiglass surrounding you. We got back the next day, and Jay found out that she was pregnant. I watched the result on the test show up and then watched her dump a fresh whiskey and Pepsi down the sink. Our son was born about 8 months later, a healthy 7 pounds, 15 ounces. My son is a spitting image of me when I was his age. Big hands, big feet, giant head, and steel blue eyes. Congratulations on your son, bro. You're going to have fun teaching him martial arts and all the other things you've been learning lately. Facing my demons. So we're just about current. I've known I've had some demons for a long time, but I haven't known how to find them and let alone face them. I don't want my son to inherit my demons the way I've inherited my dad's. My dad is a good, strong man, but he has a lot of nice guy tendencies. That's usually how it works. A lot of guys are guys, but they're total weak bitches when it comes to women. It's amazing. And I want you to be that way and have your son turn out that way and deal with all the hurt and pain that so many nice guys go through. This last section is what really prompted me to write this all out and send it in. Here's hoping I can help other recovering nice guys. About a month ago, I finished listening to a book titled No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. A shout out to Alpha M for recommending the book. Talk about an emotional 2x4 upside the head. The book described all of my nice guy tendencies to an absolute T, and it even talked about how to get over them. I have abandonment issues from my early childhood. I didn't get my emotional needs met in a timely manner. This wasn't any fault of my parents. They did the best they could. It was just that my sister was born 11 months after I was. A lot of guys are nice guys and do the things that nice guys do because they do have abandonment issues. I totally agree with that. Having my own experiences with an infant and now a toddler, I can't imagine how my parents managed, let alone while my dad was working and going to school. We lived a few hours away from extended family as well, so support would have been minimal. Listening to Dr. Glover explain these issues hit me like a ton of bricks. 0 to Tuscan Raider in about 4 seconds. Probably not the best state to be in when heading down the interstate doing the posted speed limit and totally not speeding. Adaptive cruise control for the win. As a result, I've come to understand a few things about myself and, as near as I can tell, my deepest rooted demons. Keep in mind, this is how a small child would internalize and interpret experiences. Now listen to the things he's come to realize, both what he's learned from the book, my channel, all that, about why he is the nice guy that he is and did all the things he did when he was younger. And this might resonate with some of you guys. It says, number 1, my nice guy syndrome is a result of fearing that I'll be rejected and be left alone to die. Number 2, my fear of being rejected has to do with having needs that weren't met and or interpreting that I shouldn't have needs. Number 3, thinking that I shouldn't have needs lead to a sense of shame around them. Number 4, having that sense of shame has led to not expressing what I really want and need in a relationship. That's typical nice guy behavior. Most nice guys do not stand up for themselves or say what they need or address those issues, so they keep quiet about it and take what they can get. Number 5, not being able to express my needs has led to covert contracts with people and then feeling resentful and angry when these contracts are fulfilled. Number 6, I think, being nice is a manipulation in hopes of establishing having said contracts fulfilled. 7, with sex specifically, I put a ton of pressure on myself to be a good lover, which caused a lot of hurried sexual encounters and some impotency. That's definitely true. 8, with sex, I would also try to be sneaky about it, touching my partner, trying to get them in the mood without actually asking for it. Jay let me know this annoyed her. Having all this pointed out to me has allowed me to see how it's played out in my life over and over again. But having it pointed out has also given me the ability to see the script wanting to play out and give me room to accept the fear and stand firm. I ran an experiment, as I figured out that I burn a lot of energy trying to make people happy, so they don't leave me. Jay was not happy with the conditions of the experiment. Apparently, a daily I love you text is very important to her. I generally didn't know it meant that much to her. I told as much and started sending them again. Jay doesn't like the book because of that experiment, even though I told her the book didn't prescribe it. I just had an idea. So, of course she's not going to like that No More Mr. Nice Guy book. But I bet you she's going to like the result of you having these realizations from the No More Mr. Nice Guy book. In other words, women may not like, let's say they don't like when guys behave certain ways. They say they don't like it, and yet they keep chasing the guys that behave in said ways. Being in that moment with her expressing her displeasure, I felt solid. Like a familiar wound in myself had been properly cleaned and allowed to heal, as opposed to what I've been doing for 20 years, trying to pile things over it. I could see and feel the abandonment script wanting to play out, but I just accepted the feelings and let them pass. A similar feeling came over me when I was thinking about my marriage with Elle. I ran to her best friend at a gas station and we talked for a minute. I mentioned to her that I was actually pretty angry at Elle because I realized that there was no way she wasn't cheating on me. Elle's friend looked a bit stunned, and then I said I needed to go and left, hopefully a bit of a brainworm. I told Jay about the conversation later and realized my relationship with Elle was another wound that needed to be cleaned, which talking to Elle's friend helped do. I've been watching your content over the last several months, SSM, that really helped me piece together what's going on with Elle. My nice guy brain didn't want to believe it, but I knew I deserved better deep down. The understanding brought the wound to the surface and forced me to deal with the anger I had buried. Bro, when I started learning all the things I've learned and now teach you guys, it was hard to hear because you don't want to admit that you're screwing up. And it's hard when you have built-in mindset, a lifetime of built-in mindset of how you think things are supposed to be, and then learn that everything that you led to believe was bullshit, the narrative, if you will. It's hard to deal with. But you got to force yourself to deal with the pain. It's like pulling out the fucking Band-Aid. Deal with the pain, and About this time, I've been expressing to Jay that I would like to have more SCX as well. She said she hasn't been feeling as sexual since our son was born. We've still been having SCX at least once a week since we got the go-ahead after he was born. But SCX was feeling more like a chore. There's a stereotype, huh? As the child, the SCX falls off a cliff. And it's like, I didn't marry just so I wouldn't have any SCX anymore. We're not going down that path again, so you got to stand up for yourself. But the new improved you is obviously speaking up. That night after the exchange about the I love you text, I put our son to bed and Jay jumped my bones. She did not hold back. It was amazing. Jay says she doesn't like the book, but her actions say she likes the results of me reading it. What did I just tell you earlier? She might like the book you're reading, No Mr. Nice Guy, because probably the interpretation is that's going to turn him into an asshole or some misogynistic douche. The reality is they may not like. It's like the things I teach guys in this channel and how to handle themselves. A lot of women, they'll do things that women say that they hate, and yet those same women keep chasing after them. Isn't that amazing? So what I tell you is, pretty much you all know, whatever woman says that she wants, do the opposite. Since my moment of understanding about myself, I continue to work on my demons. Yeah, it's only been a month, but I've been a lot more decisive. I've got a lot more projects on my house and at work. I'm making progress in my teaching martial arts. I don't worry about making Jay happy. That's up to her. I focus on doing things to help our relationship and leave it at that. Yes, nice guys will spend all their time trying to make others happy because they're afraid they'll abandon them if they don't make them happy. You focus on making you happy. End of story. Now, Jay, before you married her, and still does sound pretty cool, certainly, I'm sure there's room for improvement in other areas, definitely in the SCX department. But she's the one that encouraged you to keep on with the martial arts, which is awesome. But you got to take care of you and make yourself. The biggest difference in nice guys and bad boys, I say it all the time, is number one, nice guys always put their wants and needs last, like you, because you're afraid of speaking up for yourself and, you don't feel like you deserve it. And two, nice guys never check women when they're acting like a-holes. So they don't check anybody when people are mistreating them. Bad boys always put themselves first. They don't worry about making other people happy. They worry about making themselves happy. And two, they always check women when they're acting like a-holes and anybody else. You follow those two things, your situation will be quite different. Says here, Jay and I have been having relations more frequently, and I don't feel bad as she doesn't get off. I just enjoy the process and let her worry about her. Yes, You're probably hooking up more because you're acting more like the man that you're meant to be. And you're being more decisive. You're not taking any crap. And you mentioned to her, obviously it's an issue if you're not hooking up as much. And she needs to have a little fear that, shit, if I don't start taking care of my husband in the bedroom, he may leave me. Because he's been divorced before. She knows you will leave if a woman pushes you too far, and that's a good thing. A woman needs to know that if she pushes you too far or anything along that spectrum, you're out of there. Because if she doesn't, bullshit happens. He says also, even better, I don't feel bad if I get off and she doesn't. She's actually very happy to not have the pressure. Yeah, take care of you. So there you have it. If you're a nice guy, you probably have some abandonment issues you need to come to terms with. Then some deeply held beliefs, probably unconscious, can come to the surface and you can address them. Do the work. Thanks for reading, Brandon. Well, bro, that was a long-ass story, and it's kind of all over the goddamn place, but you definitely have an interesting way of telling stories and everything like that. But I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad round 2 with your now wife, Jay, has been going well. Congratulations on your son. And that book that you read, No More Mr. Nice Guy, I'm going to encourage you to read that a lot. Not just one time, because I guarantee there's a lot of shit you didn't notice the first time around. Keep watching my channel, keep watching these videos, and help you deal with the demons that you don't want to deal with. And keep behaving in that way, and that will help things with your marriage. And it'll help you be a great role model to your son, because your son is going to pick up on how you behave. And whether you behave like a weak bitch who's totally pee-whipped by your wife, or you behave as a strong, masculine man that I know is down there, that kid's going to pick up on that. And he can have the family life with you and your wife that hopefully one day he'll meet a girl and have a good situation like you do with your wife. So good for you. And guys, again, this story shows you can make mistakes early in life like he did and still turn shit around and learn. You can teach an older dog new tricks. You just got to be willing to learn. So I'm glad to hear. I like success stories. I also like the fact, especially that your ex is trying to get you back and you're like, nope, not a chance in hell. So good one, bro. I wish you the best. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you got a great story you'd like to share, definitely email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I will when I get the chance. I got a backlog going back months of stories, but I'm getting to them as quickly as I can. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.